Have you ever wondered what makes some people thrive through adverse conditions and other people just completely fall apart? Well, I've put some thought into it, and it's one of the main ideas explored in The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. Let's see what it's all about. So guys, I read this one very early on in the piece. I think it was about the third book in the self-development space that I ever picked up. And there is something that immediately resonated with, for me, with Ryan's work. He writes quite a lot about Stoicism and some of the classic Stoic authors all the way back from antiquity. I've started reading Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. This book spurred me on to do that, as Ryan takes a lot of his inspiration for this book from a lot of classical authors and well-known people from history. And from the struggles that made them famous. People like Gandhi and Abraham Lincoln. People who went through what everyone would consider extremely tough times and still came out on top because of it. Even though for the most part it would have pretty much destroyed most people. And yeah, I read this when I was probably at my worst point in my depression, and it was one of the things that it became a tipping point of sorts for me. So Ryan, I want to personally thank you for your work. It has been really good for me, I think. I think it's aptly named, and most of Ryan's books have this one thing where it's kind of like the title describes the entire book and most of what you can take away from it. So essentially it's about just ploughing straight head on into your problems, and that is more or less the only way that you're going to solve them, and running away from them is just like you're putting yourself further away from the solution. So Benjamin Franklin once said that which hurts instructs, and that's kind of the core of this book, that you should always try to take the God's eye view, so to speak. It's one of the guiding principles that took me out of my depression, because I was always reassessing where I was and what there is to learn from this current situation, and what is the best possible course of action I can take out of this to get the best result. So one of the best things that Ryan teaches you about is essentially just reframing, changing your perception of the situation that you're in and give it new context. Always be thinking about what's in the periphery around this situation, because chances are there are lessons to be learnt in it, because you don't want to move forward and then be dragged back because of the same old mistakes. So to continue on about perception, one part that I really liked was you've always got two things in any given situation. So you've got the objective thing, this happened, and then the subjective thing, how it made me feel. And they're not the same thing, and you should never take them as the same thing. So a big part of this is it kind of mirrors my own thoughts, and that is in that you really do need to divide your life into two categories, and two categories only, right? Things you can control and things that are outside of your control, and you should only really worry about the things that you can control. And there's no sense in worrying and putting any more emotional weight into the things that you can't, because that will only drag you down and give you more stuff to worry about. So as I said earlier, one of the main parts of this book is going through the stories of famous people throughout history that have really overcome some significant odds. And the one that he starts with is Amelia Earhart, in that let's say, aviation, when she was trying to get in, was a boys' club. And she was given a chance even though she wasn't paid for it, and she took that chance, and now she's gone down in the history books for becoming one of the very first female pilots. So there is a great many stories peppered throughout this book that are like that. So another really good standout story is the one about Teddy Roosevelt when he was a child, and he was a bit of a runt of a boy. And his dad said to him, like, "Look, dude, you got everything you need to be a man upstairs, but your body's a bit of a dud. So we're going to have to do something about that." And he could have just rested on his laurels, but he didn't. And they built a gymnasium together and really got stuck into it and really built his body up. And then, the rest is history. And like I said, there is a great many stories in here. One of my other favourite tales from the book is when Edison of the light bulb fame, when his factory and lab burnt down, and one of his underlings rushed to his house, got him out of bed and said, Sir, your factory's on fire, it's going to burn down. And his immediate reaction was the complete backflip of what you'd think it was. He turned around and said, "Get my wife and kids up, they'll never see a fire like this again." Which made me chuckle, because it's kind of like the ultimate seeing the good in a terrible situation. I mean, here's the man's life work going up in flames, very literally, and he's like, "Break out the popcorn, guys." And I mean, he could have had a complete meltdown, but he chose not to. And I think that there's something in that we can really take away from something. It's almost like a Fight Club Tyler Durden-esque type of thing. So another concept that Ryan talks about is that each obstacle you've overcome gets you a ticket to the next one, the next bigger obstacle. There's a really, really good quote. I can't remember if it's from Carl Sagan's Cosmos or The Pale Blue Dot. Either way, you should at least be aware of them, but watch Cosmos and read The Pale Blue Dot. It's a very good book. But anyway, he talks about how each victory is just a prelude to the next adventure, which I think is completely true, in that you got to keep a forward motion, and when you're standing still, that's when stuff starts to fall apart. So yeah, Ryan's writing style is quite good. He kind of flips from his own personal take, so he'll go kind of like, he will take a quote that's related to the topic that someone in history has said. He will then go into the history about and the context of why that quote was said, what was happening in this person's life at the time, and then he'll pull the whole story apart and give you his take on it. And for the most part, it's really good. Some of the writing, like I said, it kind of comes off as a little bit pretentious, but I think that's more on this kind of glorifying history and glorifying the characters within it that kind of gives it that pretentious feel. I don't know, I get a lot of that about any kind of historical writing where people kind of really, they super inflate the character and you can't really tell if the character has taken on its own thing or the real person was actually like that. But it is very, very interesting. Nonetheless, even the ones that are kind of more sports related, I'm not a big sports guy myself, but the stories were really, really interesting nonetheless, and there is something that you will be able to take away from it. Regardless of whether you like his writing style or not, I think that there is something in here, and it is one of the better self-development books you can read. So, to wrap this up, I definitely think you should check this one out. You should check out any of Ryan's books. They're all great. But yeah, if you have already read this one, I want to hear about it in the comments below. What do you think about it? Did you like it? What was your standout favourite part of the book? For me, I think it was probably the Edison story. I quite resonated with that, like kind of watching your life's work burn down and then getting the chance to rebuild it from the ground up is something really interesting. Yeah, until next time, guys. I'm Nathan, this is Walk It Off. Go outside, get better, and be awesome. Catch you next time.